So Rick Rubin, the super famous music producer, has these list of rules. And I don't know where he puts them up. I saw this in a post somewhere. This could be just complete misinformation I'm about to spread, but why not? He has this list of rules that I figure he probably puts up in the studio or something maybe. And one of the rules is don't do anything for as long as possible. Like just like dilly-dally, basically. Kind of like how when you were in school and you had a project to do that, And I always thought that was so interesting because there is something, listen, was it the best in school to do that? No, I don't think that really benefited anybody. But there is something interesting about when you're doing something creative, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, about just kind of not getting anything done for a little while. Have you guys ever had a project that you were working on, not in school, a creative project, like for yourself, or maybe for, I don't know, what else are you guys doing? Lay it on me. No, but have you guys ever had a project that maybe you're a little stuck on, or maybe you don't have a lead on kind of thing, you don't have a scent down on it yet? There's something to be said for sure about taking a full week off, just not even thinking about it. And then it's almost like you come back with a fresh set of eyes. I always thought that was so interesting because it's so contradictory to everything I believe, you know what I mean? The idea of kind of just not doing anything being a form of productivity is so interesting. And I think part of it is because we're so conditioned in this culture that we're in to be go, go, go all the time. I think that's definitely a part of it. But again, speaking here especially in terms of creative work, isn't there something weird about that? It's almost because I don't know, because I'm not really into the STEM fields enough like that, but could you do that with a math problem? Could you step away from a math problem for a week and come back and be like, oh, I get it now? Trying to think back to my days in school, I really feel like you can't do that. I feel like the way to go, oh, I get it now, is to keep going and struggle through it. And isn't that interesting, though, that you could do that for creative work? That you can just dilly-dally, and something better will kind of, not always better, but, that something interesting comes out of that. I think probably, if I were to guess, in Ruben's case, he probably means it more so from a lens of, get to know each other a little bit more. And that makes a ton of sense, obviously. You're going to work better with people you know more. But I'm talking just about, in general, that there has always been a value in doing nothing. I think especially, too, whenever I've worked on a creative project with friends, and for me personally, I did a lot of, unfortunately, I did a lot of stuff on Discord back in the day. Discord was a huge thing where it would be you'd be working on something with some people, and you'd barely get anything done, but it'd be so much more fun that way, than when you're working really hard and sort of grinding on something. And I wonder if, I think that kind of points to something, right? I also think, though, there's almost a balance that needs to be struck with it, because I've definitely used it at periods of my life when I'm scared to do a project. I'll be I don't want to do this because it's going to be too hard, or, what have you. It could be anything pretty much. And I've had points in my life where I use it almost more so as an excuse than anything of no, I'm letting it kind of mellow. I'm letting it figure itself out. And then I come back to it with the exact same eyes I had before. I didn't learn shit in that week off. You know what I mean? That happens to me just as much. And I wonder, because on the one hand, you could make a statement that's this idea of sort of dilly-dallying, taking some time, letting things breathe, is a really good idea. Pharrell has that one lyric on that song from his movie where he goes, what's the, give it time, don't let it burn out, on his new song from his Lego movie. Why did that happen? Did you guys see that movie? The Pharrell Lego movie where his life was Legos? I really wanted to see it. And then I kind of just didn't. And I never heard, I feel these days for me with movies, this is a whole side tangent, but why not? I feel these days for me with movies, it's very I'll see a trailer for every movie I ever see a trailer for. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see this when it comes out. And then it comes out, I'll never see it. But then if everybody else says it's good, I'll go see it. Otherwise, I'm watching it on streaming. I know that's really bad. Like, I know I do need to, so I have a ton of great local theaters around me too, like not like Regals and AMCs. Like, I know that's not a good thing, like at all, but listen guys, money ain't flowing like that where I can be going to see a movie. I'd love to be one of those guys that sees a movie every week, but the other day I saw Thunderbolts. Dude, I'm talking $40 for just tickets. I'm not gonna lie. I made my brother pay for me. I was like, you got this. That's a whole side tangent though. Shout out to my brother for paying for me. Shout out to me for getting him to pay for me. But, whatchamacallit, what was I even talking about? Oh, letting things breathe a little bit. Right. Back on track here, guys. Sorry about that. I think, like, it's almost a balance that needs to be struck. Because we could all agree that, like, there's definitely a benefit to letting things breathe. And, like, I know for me, thinking back to, like, 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago, I was working really hard for a while. And then the first break I took in a while was when I went backpacking around Europe with my brother for a little bit, right? Wow, 2 mentions of my brother today. If he watched these, he'd be really excited. And I remember on that trip, just like when I was bored, wandering around or whatever, I thought of so many new ideas because it was like my brain had time to kind of just do that, you know? So there almost needs to be a balance struck between like working really hard on something to make sure things are getting done and like staying on some sort of course. I'm not a believer that like you need to deadline and schedule everything, especially because since I do graphic design for my day job, like, and that's very much oriented on like 2-week periods of like, you need this done by this date, you need to have this stuff done by this date for a presentation. Like, since it's all oriented on that, I have ever since I started working in graphic design, I've gained such a new appreciation for stuff like this, where it's like, do one a day, you know, do it at your own pace kind of thing. Sometimes I'll do 2 if I really like it. Sometimes I'll do a painting off camera, like kind of letting things be a little more free flowing in that way. I guess that's a bad example because this quite literally is 1 a day. So I guess it's not as free flowing. But like other projects I'll do, it'll kind of just be like, I'm gonna make sure I work on it every day. I'm gonna make sure it's on a list somewhere of like, think about this. But for the most part, it gets done when it gets done. I think there's an awesome quality to that because like, so many of the so many of the largest periods of progress creatively for me have been, I do a project, I start the project, get the whole outline done, and then I spend a whole week on one little part of it where I learn a new technique. Maybe it's editing. Or I remember for this one project I did for a presentation, this was like going back 3 years now, I had to learn some 3D modeling for it, right? And like, never 3D modeled since, but like doing that took me the longest out of anything in that presentation. And just doing that was that's the only reason I still remember that presentation. Nothing else in that mattered. Not a single other thing in that mattered. But that really did matter to me. And it's the only reason I remember it to this day, probably. I don't remember every other presentation I've made, but that one sticks in my mind because I spent so much time just on that one thing for it. Maybe that's why that didn't work out. Yeah, because that presentation didn't go well. I learned a 3D model. A little bit. Don't ask me to 3D model anything now. But, you know, having almost like, I've always wanted to make a video about this, but I don't know if it's interesting enough for a video, that like so much of creative work is dancing in a box. So much of it is taking time to let things breathe a little bit, taking time to like go follow a set of guidelines, follow a set of rules. You need to have some sort of general rubric of like what you consider good, what you want to do. But you still need to make sure you have enough room around you to dance a little bit and move around and make sure you're having fun with it. I think if it's too small of a box, you know, it's just going to be kind of a boring time. If it's too big of a box though, or if there's no box there, then it's almost like you're gonna be a little too aimless. You know, you need to set up something around you to make sure things happen in a certain way. I think a great example is actually this series. That's why this was one of the things I thought of when I started it, where it's like, this series is very rigid in some things. I have the same size canvas every day, which is just because it's cheap. I get these for really cheap. That's the only reason this is happening. But it's kind of a thing now, so I keep the same size canvas. I come in the same place. I generally use the same brushes unless I get some new things. You know, I have all these things I set up, right? Obviously the videos stay relatively the same, just like around the same time with the same aspect ratio and cameras and all that. But since I'm painting something different every day, it's almost like by being in those confines of creating, I'm expanding so much in this one area. Whereas I think if I were to open this completely up to each day is going to be whatever I want it to be in all regards. Maybe the video's aspect ratio would be different. Maybe I'd use different cameras. Maybe I would change up the scenery every day. I think maybe overall the whole series would be way more interesting. That's definitely a possibility, but the paintings wouldn't progress the same because they'd be the last focus. You know, it's almost like everything would be scattered in every direction, and I think I'd still improve, but I wouldn't improve quite in the same targeted way that this is. And you know, obviously here I've chosen painting to be the main principle of the series, so I think that's kind of helps it work a little bit. And that's what I think a lot of creative work is. And that's why I think the balance between staying regimented and making sure things are getting done in a reasonable way. You know, I will be honest, I think that maybe this is like my own hang-up, but I do think I don't love taking 5 years for a project. And obviously, you know, this is just a me thing. This isn't me saying that's a bad way to create at all. I mean, like, look at Frank Ocean. He's like the best guy ever in anything, and he takes so much time on everything. You know, there's so many artists like that. But for me personally, I've never liked that because it's like, I want to stay regimented in some way, but you gotta also have time to let things breathe. And I think that's sort of like a lot of the balance of creating, right? Is like balancing a level of productivity with a level of freedom so you can actually play and have fun. Last year I made 24 videos, I want to say, from the main channel. There's only like 8 up now, because a lot of them were bad. And that's because of the way I would do things, right? So I had it regimented. The word regiment's probably been said 1,000 times in this video. But I had it set up where I was going to do a video every other week, right? And the first couple of videos, so I was getting back into YouTube for the first time, I made a ton of progress, right? And then I stagnated right after that. I stagnated for like 4 or 5 videos. And then after that, I not like burnt out, but I got kind of busy in my personal life. So I went, okay, I'm going to cancel the next 2 videos, take 6 weeks for this next video. And then when I did that, since I had so much more time to let things breathe, that, let's say it was video number 8, you know, the progress that I made in video number 8 was more than all the other ones combined, just because I finally had time to let things breathe. And then after that, I'd go back on the schedule, so nothing would be breathing again, and then, you know, it was the same thing over and over again. It's not that those were bad videos by any means, as much as I don't love them now. I think they were fine overall. It's just that progress wasn't happening. And that's the balance you gotta strike, because I wouldn't be who I am without the progress that happened, but would the progress happen without the moments of stagnation that happened in between that? That's what I don't know. That's where I think it's like, it's such an interesting balance to be struck. Would I be a million times better right now at everything I do if I only did 3 videos last year, but just spaced them out and let whatever happened happen in between them, and just let everything be a moment to learn? Maybe, and that's kind of what I'm experimenting with this year on the main channel personally. I mean, like, a video won't be coming out there for at least a month. There's probably gonna be 3 videos. I want to try and do, my goal is like, last year, this is so just not even anything with the conversation, it's just me talking about my own main channel. But last year I did 24 videos. I stayed on a pretty strict schedule, except for 1 or 2 times where I really took extra time for a video, right? This year, I'm doing the exact opposite. I don't have a schedule. I have these 3 giant projects I really want to do, and then everything else, just letting happen the way it happens. My goal is that next year I can take both these things and have things progress in a way where I can make the solid amount of progress I want to make, like I'm doing this year, while having the output of last year. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of looking at it as a longer term thing right now, but yeah, that's just a whole other side conversation. But I'd really love to know, what are your guys' tactics for doing this? What are your guys' tactics for sort of dancing in a box creatively? I'd really love to know. This is the painting. Still staying on this whole deconstruction thing. This one's more of a clown. I wanted to try, because I think oftentimes when you get, I'll just do another stroke to demonstrate. When you get this, where it's like only kind of, like, so I don't even know the word for this. Where it's not a solid stroke, but it's kind of like dotting along. Like, see how this is solid, and then this is like just like only dots. I've always thought that it looked like printing, like screen printing from manga. So I was like, what if I did a piece where everything was blurry enough that it almost looked like it was screen printed on? And I think it looks really cool. I think it was boring, that's why I added the red, and I like it more. I think I'm seeing sort of a pattern of these deconstructed pieces being almost a tiny bit violent. Yesterday's really was. The days before that seemed like weird. This one's just a little like, I don't even know, but yeah. I'm liking the series, so go check this out over on the Instagram. I'm only posting once a week now, so on Sunday you'll see this up with a video, a short, demonstrating all of it. I've changed up my strategy a little bit on the Instagram, so go follow over there to see stuff like this, to see bonus shorts of other paintings I do, and until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This is Paint Talk episode 133. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.